Hi, good morning. You join me with yet another Land Rover problem. The Defender TD5 has decided it's not going to spray the front windscreen very well. I'll show you what I mean. Here we go, wait for it. Any second now. Really, there we go. This isn't what I call a jet of water. On the Land Rover Defenders, you've got a non-return valve in the supply of water to the jet on the front of the vehicle and the back. Now, I've replaced both the non-return valves on the back and the front. Back one's still okay, but the one on the front has actually been replaced 3 times. And I'm finding after about a month or so, it needs replacing again. Now, that's not entirely correct, so I'm thinking what's happening. There's some dirt or debris build up in the water reservoir tank, and that's feeding through the pipe and blocking up the non-return valve. Now, generally the non-return valves are throwaway items, so I've gone and bought a non-return valve off eBay, as you do, which you can dismantle, clean and refit if necessary, but I think it's going to be a little bit too big for this project. Well, I'm hoping if that doesn't fit, I'm going to dismantle the non-return valve that's on there. It really is a throwaway item, but it's a Land Rover part, and I've seen those in the past. You can unclick them, take them apart, clean and put back, but I'm not that hopeful, but we'll see. If I can fit the new part, we will, after I've cleaned the reservoir tank. And kind of that's the plan today. We'll take out the tank, give that a really good clean anyhow, put it all back together and see where we are from there. So that's what we're going to do. Right, I normally use the Haynes motor manual for all my vehicles. The last 30-40 years I've used these. I found them to be very good. Now I'm on my Land Rover, so I'm using the Land Rover Haynes manual for the TD5, and it tells me I have to remove the headlamp, so the surround's got to come out, 2 screws on here I believe, then the air intake. That's before we even start looking at the reservoir, so I'll crack on with this. I've got 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 screws to take out, so might as well get started. These were an LED upgrade I put on last year, I think. Replace the normal bulbs are on there, and very happy with them. White pack, I think they pronounce it. Yeah, no problems with them, and hopefully they'll last as long as I'm going to last. No bulbs to change, no filament bulbs, they're all LED, so that's quite good. The MOT are quite happy with it because they are approved for road use, which again is good. You can get stuff off eBay which is very cheap, will work, but they shouldn't legally be fitted to the vehicle. So you always want to look on the lamps, make sure they got that the number. I was going to say E5, but let's just have a look, see if we've got a number on there. Just the E number by the looks of it. But basically I know these are legit and all being approved for road use, so we'll pop that out. I might get away without disconnecting all that. We'll see. These are just little buffers in the back. They'll probably just hang down there. We'll take off the cowl. There's a few extra screws on here, just filling holes up, because previous to this there was some wire mesh sort of headlight protectors on there. I didn't really like them, so they're in the cupboard now. Anyway, there's the headlamp. Also upgraded that. That's just not an LED headlamp. It's a crystal. They call it crystal headlamp. By white pack again. But it tremendous difference on the light compared to the standard lenses that are on there. I think there's, how many screws on here? Four screws. I forgot how many there was. 4 screws to get the headlamp out. It's an adjustable unit, but just taking these screws out there's no need to fiddle with it when you're putting it back. You just 4 screws back in and the alignment of the headlamp's still good. Just got to find them 2 screws I've lost now. There's the headlamp. There we go. Yeah, it's plastic lens. It's got I believe it's a Philips night light bulb in there. I'll see if I can find the link and put that in the description as well. But this transformed the vision in the dark. They really were a good upgrade, and they weren't a lot of money. I think the bulbs are about £20 a pair, and the lamp units about 30 a pair. I'd like the LEDs, but I couldn't quite run to that. That was like hundreds of pounds. So, well, that's the headlamp out. We'll move on to the air vent. Okay, this is the left-hand side air intake vent for the heater that Haynes told me I need to remove. So that's just what I'm doing now. I've replaced all the screws in here with stainless steel screws. They were originally mild steel and they went rusty. So these are near identical replacements, albeit an inch longer than the originals. But you know, there's a fair bit of rust on the truck now, so some shiny bits don't go amiss. Now, one more to do after this, and then we'll open the bonnet and see what we're faced with. Right, last one. There we go. Right, we've got to remove the air intake duct in. There's 2 screws here. I haven't replaced these with stainless, so that probably would be a good idea. 1. 2. There's also a bracket in here that retains the duct in, so there are a couple of 10mm stainless bolts. Get those out. The main reason for removing this, it looks as if there's 3 bolts holding the reservoir tank in, and 2 are obscured by the headlight, i.e. that was a reason for taking the headlamp out. And the duct in here, there's 1 bolt or screw about here. So hopefully getting this out the way will allow us access. It says we've got to manoeuvre this out of the vehicle. So it went in, so it's going to come out. So bear with me, we'll come back to me when we got that out. Well, I want a happy bunny about coming out. Not took it all away, but down here is the screw or the bolt I've got to take out. So I'll go get a longer screwdriver and see if we can take those 3 screws out and look at removing the tank. I may have to take this out totally, but I'm hoping we can maybe push it back in after the screw's loose on the reservoir tank and wiggle it this way, but we'll see. Longer screwdriver, see how we get on with those 3 bolts. Okay, these bolts look a little bit on the rusty side. There's 1 here, 1 over there. I'll come up to the top. And the other one, if you can just about see it, the end of the screwdriver is down here. Forgive the focus, I'm not sure I was too happy about it. But there's 3 bolts. The nuts, or the captive nuts, are on the underside of the vehicle here. You can see the patches. I've sprayed them with plus gas to try to release them. 1, 2, and the 3rd is here. It's clear enough where they are. You can make it out with the tank if you look at the tank and look underneath, and that's where the captive nuts are. So I've hit that with plus gas. I'm going to give it a few minutes, and you know what time it is now. It's time for a cup of tea while that's soaking in. So I'll go have my brew and come back in a few minutes. But I'm going to probably replace those bolts that are in there, because they are posi drive, you know, crosshead type screws. But if I got stainless and I got either cap heads, you know, with an Allen key, or just standard bolts, probably 10mm bolt or 10mm spanner for the head, I'll replace those, because I think that's probably a better option. So that's what I'm going to do now. Get the brew on, come back, get that tank out, give it a clean up. Okay, that was a bit harder than I thought it might be. Don't know if you can see in there, but I've managed to undo that. This tank will lift up now, as you can see. Not very well, but yeah, that'll lift up. I use lots of plus gas on them nuts and bolts. The nuts aren't actually captive underneath, they're loose bolts, so had things gone wrong I could have cut them off without much of a problem. But yeah, there we go. Anyhow, so what I'm going to do, there's two pipes you can just about see, one for the rear, one for the front windscreen. I'm going to mark those up because I'm bound to get them round the wrong way. Then we can lift the tank out, give it a good scrub. So yeah, that's the next job. We'll go with taking the water tank out now, the reservoir. Easier said than done. It's really get it just to the right angle, and it pops out. Doesn't look too dirty, but let me show you what I had to do to get it there. Okay, to get that tank out you just saw, there's a red plug for the left hand pump, black plug for the right, two water pipes which are there. Take them out. Now under the bonnet I conceded I had to move the air duct in right out the way. I've had to take the air intake to the turbo, get that out the way, move that out the way, and I thought, yeah, great, we'll be alright. But no, even had to move the pipe going to the intercooler, pull that out the way, and I had to take the plastic mount off the shock absorber top, the tower. With all those removed, eventually struggled out with the tank. So a little bit more difficult than Haynes said, unless I missed something, but it's out now. Well, I'll take it in the house, give it a good scrub up, and refit it, which should be easier. Although if we grab the tank, these bolts, let's see if we can get that into a better light. There's three of those, they're the ones I was undoing. Got a cross head on it. It's not it's a Phillips head actually. It's not like posi drive type head, it's a Phillips head. But they almost captive in the tank. Now I want to replace those three because they're a bit of a devil to take out, and also they've rusted up. So if I can pop them out the tank, and I'll replace them with suitable stainless steel top and bottom nuts and bolts. So another upgrade, if you want to call it that. Oh no, just notice the pumps are actually I've got a red and a black cap on which matches the plug, which is handy, so I don't have to remember that. So right, get this tank in, get it washed out, and refit it. Right, give the old tank there a good scrub up. It was pretty caked up inside. It looked like as if it's a water additive I'm putting in, like the detergent for cleaning the windscreen, as scaled up on the side. Like a film almost, and there's a bit of debris and muck right down by the pumps. So I've given that a good scrub out, inside and out. What I did do, you'll see these are drywall screws. I put a couple of dozen of them in the tank, along with a cleaning detergent and water, just giving that a really good shake. Hosed it out, got all the drywall screws out, not done any damage, but you can't really see, but it is spotless inside now. it did have a blue film on it. You could see clearly where it hadn't cleaned just by simple washing. So yeah, I needed to go to the drywall screws. Good for fuel tanks as well. If you've got an old fuel tank, whack a load of them in, some water, attach it to your cement mixer, let it turn for half an hour, then tip it out, clean it. Then I think it's U-Pol, they do a sealant to go inside the fuel tank to reseal it. So yeah, if you hard to reach areas are really good for using the drywall screws. It does work for me, and it worked for this. What I have done also, those 3 screws I was telling you about here, there's one on the back. I managed to take them out. Those are them. They were captive, so a little bit of persuasion, I popped them out. But because they're just straightforward steel, I'm going to swap them out for what you can see there, stainless steel bolts and washers and nylock nuts. So now is time to refit the tank. I'll pop it all back together. There's no point in showing the reassembly, it's just a straightforward reverse of what I've done. But what we will do, have a look at the non-return valves. I want to show you where they are and where I've repositioned one, and see if we can do a bit of an autopsy on one with possible resurrection and pop it back in, because those other valves are a little bit too big that I've got. But hopefully we can crack the other one open and be away. But right, I'll put this back together and I'll come back to you. Okay, there you go. That's the truck all back together. All the pipe work in here has been refitted. You've got stainless steel bolts going through on that. All the duct in. Turbo pipes are back. If we have a quick look underneath, it should be obvious where the 3 new bolts are sticking through. 1, 2, 3. So they're stainless steel. They'll come out easier if need be. Now this is what I was going to show you. The non-return valves are down here, or they are on my truck. Let me get my great big hand in the way and see if I can pull that out. There you go. That's one non-return valve. There's another one on another pipe down there. Originally there was only one non-return valve down here, so you got the pair of them there. Get my hand out the way. One of those was a joiner, simple joiner in my pipe, that went to the back windscreen. Let me show you where the non-return valve was for the back windscreen. You come round with me. There's the passenger door. Now, for some reason, Land Rover like to fit the non-return valve behind the roof lining, and mine was here on the passenger side of a right-hand vehicle. So what I did, the joiner that was under the bonnet that I just showed you, go back here, one of these non-return valves was a joiner. So all I've done is swap the two around. The pipe joiner that was under the bonnet is now under the roof lining. So if I get problems with the non-return valves in the future, all I got to do is get it under the bonnet and I'll pull all the liner out to get up and behind. Now I know which one is a non-return valve for the front windscreen. It's a slightly bigger one of the two here. So I'm going to pop that out and get on the bench and see if we can open it up. That's the non-return valve. Now I had one of that sort on the vehicle from new to me about 3 years ago. So I'm going to make the assumption that's what Land Rover originally fitted. Since then I've had a few different varieties. Most of them are Loctited together, so you just can't get them apart. But I have got this open before, or this type. So I'm going to give that a go. The other non-return valve that I mentioned to you was this aluminium thing. It will dismantle, but it's massively bigger. I didn't expect it to be that big. So we won't fit that just yet. It will fit by the looks of it. The 6mm adapter on the end will push over the pipe I've got in there, but being aluminium, it's quite light, but I don't want that banging around if I can help it. So I'm going to try to get this little one to pieces. So it's probably where I stabbed my fingers, but hey ho. Alright, you can see it's two-part construction. And it's pretty tightly closed, but I think it's only push fit. But it's a disposable item. They don't expect you to open them up. There we go though. You got a little spring and bit of plastic that pushes onto the diaphragm that's in here. If you take that off carefully, it's seen better days by the looks of it. But you'll have there's an arrow on here. Water comes in this side, comes up the middle of that little pipe you can see there, or little hole, and the water pressure will push against the diaphragm and enter this outer chamber, which then goes through this adapter or this pipe and off to the windscreen. So yeah, once you got a bit of pressure from the right, there's enough pressure to push this diaphragm up and the water will flow through and up to your windscreen. I'm a little bit disturbed that that's curled up, but I'll give this a good rinse out. We'll put it back together. I did try blowing through it a minute ago and it's absolutely chock-a-block, gummed up, so possibly we can get that back together. If not, it's in with the big boy. Okay, that's all back together now. We'll see if that works. If not, I'll have to put the big boy in on count of three. That's what I want. Excellent. So that's took me all morning to sort that out, but I'm pretty confident now. It's not going to gunk up, not for a while anyhow. I've had a Land Rover 3 years. I don't reckon it's ever been cleaned out. I do use a windscreen washer additive, and there was a lot of like blue scale in the tank. Now I'm not using that make now, that was Asda's. I've gone over to Halford's, and it smells nicer, and hopefully it don't leave a scale inside the tank. But yeah, and the non-return valve, as soon as I press the button, bang, the water should be there. It won't run back down the pipe. If the non-return valve wasn't there, like I said earlier, it would take a few seconds for the water to be pumped up from the reservoir tank. So if I press the button now, it's immediate. So yeah, pleased with that. That's a good result. Took longer than I expected. One complicated is just getting the bolts out and dismantling the engine. Wasn't quite so bad as that, but yeah, good result. If you found it interesting, let me know. Thumbs up would be great, and subscribe, because there's going to be more videos like this for the truck and other projects I've got in mind around the house and the garage. So yeah, thanks for watching.